It is truly my pleasure to welcome you to the 44th Annual N4a Conference and Tradeshow. It's great to see everyone here in New Orleans. From jazz to delicious food and a deep history, the Big Easy has a lot to offer its visitors. And this year's conference in this stunning city has a lot of information to offer you regarding core AAA and Title VI program services, the latest new developments and innovations around integrated care and healthcare contracting focused on the social determinants of health, new opportunities for building partnerships focused on transportation and housing, and new strategies to address the needs of people living with dementia, advanced illness, and those who are socially isolated. What's happening on the policy front in Reauthorization of Older Americans Act, and so much more. We have a lot to do, so let's get started. We are so pleased to welcome nearly 1,200 Area Agency on Aging and Title VI Aging Program leaders and decision makers to New Orleans. This is the largest gathering of local leaders in aging in the country. With us, we have aging directors and staff that started area agencies on aging, as well as area agency on aging directors and staff who have joined the Aging Network along the way. The one thing that we all share, no matter how long you've been in the Aging Network, is our passion and our commitment to ensuring that older adults in this country can age well, can age with purpose, can age with the supportive services that they need when they need them, where they want them, which is at home and in their community. As I look out on this audience of incredible aging leaders, there is one group I'd like to specifically welcome, and that is our first-time N4a conference attendees. We are so happy to have you here with us, and I think that you'll see after you spend 4 days with us here in New Orleans that you will want to come back again. You'll see why we have so many repeat attendees year after year. And I'd like to ask all of the first-time conference attendees to please stand. Wow! Yay! So that we can reach out to you throughout the conference, as you leave, if you are a first-time attendee, please see one of the N4a staff at the doorways, and we have a special ribbon for you for first-time attendees. And for those of you in the room that see someone with that ribbon on, please make every effort that you can to walk up to them, to welcome them to the conference, and to share your thoughts and ideas with them and mentor them as they enter this incredible aging network. We're excited to kick off what we know will be a conference full of innovation and thought-provoking sessions that'll leave all of us with the ideas, first-time attendees and those that are veterans, so that you can take home these great ideas and implement them in your communities. We have a jam-packed agenda of sessions for you here at this conference. To help you navigate more than 130 sessions that we have here at the conference, the N4a team has created the N4a Conference app, which we highly recommend that you download. The app contains all the information that you're going to need to be able to connect not only with the programs that we're offering here at the conference, but also with other conference attendees. The app has the latest and the greatest information about every single session, including our hot topics, our facts tracks, exhibitor information, and even a social feed so that you can share what you're learning and keep up new relationships that you're developing here in New Orleans. There's a flyer in your tote bag you received at registration, and if you turn to page 9, it'll give you all the details you need to connect with that important app. So now, as we get the conference started, to officially kick off the 44th Annual Conference for N4A, I'd like to ask Karen Milligan to join me on the stage to lead us in the national anthem. Karen? Up? Karen.
Here I am.
There she is. It is a big room. And I have to tell you, this woman has an amazing and a very big voice. So Karen, thank you so much. Have the color guard, the local color guard from the American Legion, who is coming into the room as well. And we'd ask you to come forward.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Karen, so much for that incredible rendition of the national anthem, and also thank you to the American Legion for presenting the nation's colors. As we look at, and we are so excited to be here in this wonderful city. New Orleans is just incredible. And I'd like to take a moment now to thank our host committee, especially Howard Rogers, who is the head of the New Orleans Council on Aging, the AAA here in New Orleans. Howard has been instrumental in welcoming N4A since the moment we said we were coming to New Orleans. He and his team have worked around the clock to ensure that you all have a terrific time here in the Big Easy. So please join me in welcoming Howard Rogers to the stage. Howard.
Welcome, everybody, to New Orleans. Before I give my formal welcome, I have a surprise for Sandy. One of the things that here in New Orleans, and she'll get to use it later on, but we have a second line umbrella for her that is custom made with her name on it.
No way!
Yeah.
Look at this! Oh, Howard!
We also have one for Martin, so wherever Martin is, he's somewhere out here in the universe. Here's his umbrella.
Oh, Howard, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I know I'm really in New Orleans.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New Orleans. I hope you're enjoying yourself. You are officially in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. All right? Last night at dinner, I was telling everybody, and, two things. Number one, while you're here, don't worry about your waistline, all right? Because here in New Orleans, everywhere else in the country, people eat to live, we live to eat. So I hope you enjoy yourself while you're here. You are, and I know I might get a few boos from some other folks, but you're here in the heart of the Who Dat Nation. All right? All right. But, I wasn't able to do this all by myself. I like for the Council on Aging directors from around the state and area agency directors to stand up because they assisted us in putting on this, and also cannot forget the wonderful staff of the New Orleans Council on Aging, because if I forgot about them, they won't let me come to work next week. So if the staff and the Council on Aging directors, please stand up. We hope while you're here that you enjoy yourself, that you get a chance to see our great city, and just have a good time. So I'm going to bring up a good friend of mine who's going to bring greetings from the mayor of New Orleans. This is Julius Feltus, who's the senior advisor to the Mayor Cantrell, to Mayor LaToya Cantrell. Julius?
Thank you. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. Good evening. I had prepared some thoughts in my head before that young lady gave that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rendition, and I just went blank. I'm so very proud that she is here in New Orleans. And Howard, we're going to have to make sure she comes before the city council to give that rendition as well. I'm here on behalf of Mayor LaToya Cantrell, the first female to be elected in the 300-year history of the city of New Orleans. On behalf of Mayor Cantrell, I want you to know that you are welcome here today. Now, we have all kinds of stuff We've got the river walk right across here. I was here an hour early. Matter of fact, Howard has a way of getting you to do what he wants to do, what he wants you to do. And so he told me it was 3 o'clock. So old Julius got here 2:45, and I realized I needed to go and get me some Popeye's chicken. But I want to say to you, all of you who work to improve the lives of seniors across our city and across our country, we are indebted to you. Howard Rogers and the Council on Aging is what we need across this country. Howard, I've never told you this, but I want to personally thank you for what you do. The reason why I have my job as a senior advisor to the mayor is because many seniors in this community voted for LaToya Cantrell, and we don't take them for granted. Most of the time, people will come to the senior centers and pat those seniors on the back and say they love them at election time and never see them again. LaToya Cantrell has made a commitment to this senior population here in the city of New Orleans that we are with them at least 2-3 times a week. And I go to a center almost every other day because I know the power and the wisdom of seniors. And so I want to say that I know many of you, and anytime I need help, I call Howard. One thing, he has the governor's phone number. And I want to tell you, I reached out to the governor this weekend, and he wanted me to let you all know that you're welcome here in the city of New Orleans in the state of Louisiana. Reached out to Congressman Cedric Richmond, your good friend. Wants you to know that you're welcome here. And to United States Senator Bill Cassidy, you are special because of the work that you do. And LaToya Cantrell knows that because she stands on the shoulders of the seniors that you represent and you work for every day. Now, I know this is going to be a fun time. I don't want to be too serious. But I want you to know, do not follow Howard Rogers outside of this building. But if you do, I want you to know that you can always call me. And I have parole power. I'll be able to get you out of jail. The mayor has granted me that for this weekend. So I want you to know, here's my number. I want you to take it down. Someone will answer it. It's 911. Have a great conference. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Howard, what a reputation you have. As we move forward and looking at, I really want to thank Howard. I want to thank the entire host committee. The host committee had over 100 volunteers that are working this conference. So the one thing that I would ask is if you see anybody with a banner that says "Ask Me," who is a volunteer, please walk up to them and please thank them for being here. And having Julius Feltus here welcoming us on behalf of the mayor, thank you so much. Your commitment to seniors is amazing. Her commitment to seniors is amazing. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your weekend to be here with us. So, I don't know about you all, but I am jazzed to be here in New Orleans. So as we move forward looking at the opportunities of this conference, I want to also give a huge shout out to a lady who's going to be soon coming up to the stage. I have the unique honor to welcome Deborah Stonewalls, N4A's president extraordinaire, to the stage for her first official N4A conference and trade show, serving in the capacity of president. Deborah is amazing. She is the executive of the Office on Aging in Maui County.
and she's been there since 2008. She is a passionate advocate for aging programs and for all of the seniors in Maui, and also is a leader on the national forefront. We are so lucky to have her serving as N4A's president. I can't tell you how wonderful it has been for both the board of directors and the staff to have her in this role. And with that, I would like you all to welcome N4A's president, Deborah Stonewalls, to the stage.
Thank you so much, Sandy. And Howard, I'm really surprised they let us sit next to each other last night. Knowing your reputation and knowing mine. Wow, it's been a year since I've first was elected president, and I'm so excited as we mark another year together. We've had many milestones during this time for N4A, for the area agencies on aging and Title VI programs, the whole aging network. It's been really a great year since we were all together last year in Chicago. Seems like forever ago. But over the course of this time, the N4A members have been leaders in helping to move forward the reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. We've launched discussions on ways to establish the core competencies and standards for AAAs. We're developing data and tools to support healthcare partnerships that will benefit older adults and people with disabilities that we serve. We've expanded our efforts to serve the growing and diverse population of older adults through our work with the N4A Diversity Task Force, the Dementia Friendly America, the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center, the Engaged National Resource Center, the Elder Care Locator, and our new partnerships with CTAC, the Coalition for the Transformation of Advanced Care, as well as the Tivity Rural Aging Steering Committee. These are just a few of the things we've been doing in the last year. Did you guys know we were doing so much? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? I think I needed like 3 glasses of water almost to get through that whole list. But really, when you think about what we've accomplished just in 12 short months, it makes us very excited about not only right now, but about the future and what we have to look forward to. And it really is one of the reasons why we're all here. We're here to learn how we can enhance and expand the critical programs and services that we offer to ensure that they truly value and support people as they age. So the Aging Network has been in a continuous process of revamping and reframing our services to ensure that they meet the needs of today's and tomorrow's older adults, a population that has a critical and significant role in our communities and in society at large. But while we're looking at reframing, looking at changing and reframing and redirecting our service systems, we also need to be leaders in reframing aging in the broadest sense. And this leads me to the topic of today's general session, reframing of aging. Now led by the Gerontological Society of America, the Reframing Aging Initiative is one that is truly changing the way that people think and talk about aging. An important conversation that we all need to have, and we get to have it this afternoon. It's kind of morning in Maui, but. Oh, by the way, I do want to thank my staff, Sharon Nobriga, who presented me with this lovely lei that she brought from Maui for me. So in Hawaii, we use lei as an honor, and I just really appreciate the honor, Sharon. Thank you so much. So we are delighted to have GSA's president, Dr. Michael Jaswinski, here with us in the audience today. Is Michael? Okay, sorry. There he's standing. See, you really can't see anything up here because these lights. Thank you for being here today. We're quite honored that you're here with us. And we're so pleased to have James Appleby, the CEO of the Gerontological Society of America, who is leading the Reframing Aging Initiative as our kickoff keynote speaker. As the CEO of the Gerontological Society of America, James is an innovator in his field. Since joining GSA in 2008, he has focused GSA on advancing innovation in aging and has built multiple initiatives, including projects related to adult immunizations, over-the-counter medication taking behaviors, pain management, and several new publications. Today, James is going to discuss the Reframing Aging Initiative, which is focused on teaching us how we can create a better public understanding of older adults' needs and contributions to society, and to use communications and outreach to drive a more informed conversation about aging and its implications in our communities and for our communities. I can't think of a better discussion and speaker to help us start off this year's conference. So James, we welcome you to the stage and we're excited to hear from you. Thank you.
Wow, well, thank you, Deborah. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And I have to say, the energy in this room is quite amazing. And I think you're going to have a wonderful conference here in New Orleans. For me, my meeting's already been made because of the soloist doing the national anthem. That was quite extraordinary, wasn't it? And thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this opening session for the 2019 N4a conference. It is an honor to be able to be here and to share some of the information that Deborah alluded to around the work that GSA is doing around reframing aging. Now this summer, the country was able to celebrate the amazing achievement of landing a man on the moon 50 years ago this summer, or earlier this month. And that was a seminal moment, obviously, in the history of our country. And it really was a function of hard work and dedication and innovation to make that happen. It ushered in new industries, and it certainly paved the way for new exploration of space with the Space Shuttle program and the International Space Station and other initiatives. But 50 years ago today, another event happened I think is much more important for this audience. 50 years ago this summer, Dr. Robert Butler coined the term ageism. Dr. Butler was the first director of the National Institute on Aging, and he coined that term to describe the discrimination that older adults experience simply by virtue of their age. And he set forward an entire genre of research and scholarship around ageism, better understanding what causes it, what the attributes are, as well as what interventions can be developed to try to address it. Now, I wish I could tell you that 50 years later, we had made as much improvements in addressing ageism in America as we have with our space program. We've got a long way to go, but as I'll share with you today, some important steps are being taken that I think can make a difference. This Reframing Aging Initiative takes on what we refer to as the conventional wisdom around aging and provides us with a pathway of sorts to changing the stereotypes that surround aging in the United States. Now, earlier this month, I got together with my siblings to mark a personal family anniversary, one that's not particularly happy. 45 years ago this month, our family lost our father. I was 9 years old when he died, and my 5 siblings, aged 11, 13, 15, 17, and 20, were left at home with, fortunately, an amazing mother. My father was 43 when he died. My mother was the same age. As you can imagine, this was a traumatic and transformative moment in the life of our family. Everything changed. Fortunately, our family was blessed with a mother that was prepared to go back to work. She was a community pharmacist. She not only provided patient care to our small community of 3,000 people in rural Pennsylvania, she was also a community leader involved in Girl Scouts and all sorts of Eastern Star and other examples of community organizations. She was extraordinary. She made sure that all 6 of us got to college, and she made sure that we all got launched in our careers. Now, while I would tell you that my admiration for my mother truly knows no bounds, I have come to appreciate that she did have some help, some support during this challenging time. What I didn't fully appreciate at that moment, but that I now realize was essential for our family, was the outsized role that our grandparents played in our lives. You see, I grew up in a multi-generational household. My mother's mother lived with us. She was there every day. And she helped us in big ways and small ways to essentially make the family function, and was especially critical after the loss of my father. So I went into the Appleby photographic archives and found a picture of my family. This is circa 1970, I believe. This is me and my 5 siblings together. My father's there in the back. My grandmother, who lived with us, is there in the foreground. Of course, my mother's not there because she was the photographer. And you're probably all right now scratching your heads saying, so which one is James? Well, that's me. So I was fortunate to have my grandmother living right there with us. But also, our paternal grandparents lived 4 blocks from our house. They were both living at the time, and they too were a part of our daily lives as we grew up. I believe these interactions and relationships enable my brothers and sisters to witness what all of us now collectively refer to as the aging life course up close. We witness aging day in and day out, and I know that this experience of having grandparents that were integral in our daily lives wasn't the norm. It just simply wasn't the norm. We were blessed, and I didn't appreciate it until much later in my life just how blessed we were. My siblings and I learned to respect aging and honor older individuals because they were part of our family every day. As I reflected on my career, I realized that these experiences really were a big driver in why it is I ended up going into the aging field myself. And I suspect we have that in common. I suspect many of you also ended up going into the aging field and taking on your current roles and responsibilities because of experiences you had with older adults. In your essential roles providing this care, these services to older Americans and their families, you make an important contribution every day. It's already been mentioned the many things that the area agencies on aging take care of. We know about your work with caregiving and supporting caregivers, with respite care, with transportation, legal services, congregate meals. You name it, we know that you are working on it in order to help older adults live better lives with dignity. Said another way, you honor aging and older adults every day of your lives. And on behalf of the Gerontological Society of America, I want to say thank you for what it is you do every day in our communities nationwide. Thank you. Now, another thing I suspect we have in common is the fact that when we began our respective responsibilities, we had to learn a new language of sorts, right? Can you think back to your first day, especially for some of the new people to the field who were recognized earlier? There was an awful lot to learn around this new language, right? You had to learn about long-term services and supports, and you had to learn about SNFs and the AAA and Part A and Part B, Part C and Part D of Medicare, and community-based services, Medicare Advantage, and a whole lot of other abbreviations and acronyms just in order to carry on your responsibilities day in and day out. And I recognize this new language that you had to learn is important because what we're talking about when we talk about reframing aging is just that. We're talking about the ability to learn to use language in a different way. That is a way to talk about aging that is more closely aligned with what the science says to be true about aging, rather than the conventional wisdom, the beliefs that the public has about aging and about older adults. A different way of talking about aging that increases the likelihood that others will become supportive of age-friendly policies. And ultimately, a different way of communicating that will help us address the inherent ageism that is rampant in American society today. Now, some may ask, well, why is reframing aging and addressing ageism so important? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. It's bad for our health. Research shows now that ageism, and when individuals are exposed to ageism, that exposure to these unfavorable stereotypes adversely affects the attitudes, cognitions, and behavior of older adults. Carry that forward, negative stereotypes combined with discrimination make ageism a chronic stressor in the lives of older adults. Literally, ageism is becoming a risk factor for the chronic diseases of aging that we experience. And age discrimination is associated with lower self-perceptions of aging, which impacts people's behavior and their health. As I've considered these research findings, I've really been trying to rack my brain to say, what analogous situation can we look to in which other people's common daily behaviors cause such severe negative health consequences for those around them? Can you think of one? Well, the best example I've come up with is secondhand smoke. If you think about it, secondhand smoke is something that people experience. It's not that they've asked to experience it, but it's because of the behavior of others. But it affects their health dramatically. More than 7,000 people die from lung cancer annually because of secondhand smoke, and almost 34,000 people die from heart disease as a result of secondhand smoke. And from the year I was born, 1964, until 2014, 2.5 million people have died from exposure to secondhand smoke. So in many ways, I sort of feel like ageism is the secondhand smoke of optimal aging. It's something that is done to others and it affects their health, just as ageism affects the health of individuals. And they didn't seek it out, it's just how society so far currently treats older adults. Now, the good news is that there was a public response to secondhand smoke. Now, as of this month, 2/3 of the U.S. population live in areas that have passed strong smoke-free laws that cover restaurants and bars. Therefore, people can enjoy going out without being exposed to secondhand smoke. Good science said this is an issue, and there was a policy response that led to these changes. And it was a policy response, I might add, that did not have negative economic consequences. In fact, the research suggests that these policy changes actually perhaps are improving economic conditions in those areas. I hope that we can come up with a similar society-wide effort to address the ill effects of ageism, because honestly, it appears that ageism is even more detrimental to our health than secondhand smoke. Consider, for example, that about 17 million clinical cases are caused annually as a result of ageism. This is new research out from Becca Levy. And the cost of ageism is estimated at $63 billion a year. $63 billion a year. That is an extraordinary sum of money. Imagine if we could eliminate ageism, we'd be saving $63 billion a year from our health care. It's quite extraordinary. Now, there is some good news here as well, and that is that the corollary, that is positive age stereotypes, positive attitudes towards aging, can actually be protective based upon the research. That is, if you have positive attitudes towards your own aging, research suggests you could live up to 7.5 years longer, healthier lives. And research has shown that individuals who are at risk, high risk for developing Alzheimer's disease, there's a dramatic difference between whether or not Alzheimer's disease develops, depending on whether or not those individuals have a positive attitude towards their own aging or a negative attitude towards their own aging. So a positive attitude towards aging can actually be protective against Alzheimer's disease. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what can we do about this? And the answer is, we can take steps to reframe aging. So I'd like to walk you through a little bit about how the initiative began, what it's about, and what resources are available to you to use in your local communities and inside your own organizations to reframe aging. The Reframing Aging Initiative got started as a result of a dialogue among representatives from the 8 organizations represented on this slide. We had been meeting over the course of about 6 months, talking about ways we could collaborate together across this very diverse group of organizations. And we're trying to identify where it's a place we can make common cause. Where can we make a difference? And all the conversations kept coming back to this issue of ageism. We all agreed that that was holding us all back. And in particular, it was helping us or causing us to have difficulty in getting our messages through when we were trying to seek positive policy changes. Inherent ageism attitudes were slowing us down. So we decided to take on this issue of ageism. And of course, our first step was to say, well, who would get behind it? And I'm happy to report that 9 different organizations decided to step forward, very forward-thinking organizations, and get behind the Reframing Aging initiative that we were undertaking. And in fact, 4 of these organizations are continuing to support the next phase in the Reframing Aging initiative that GSA has been tasked with leading on behalf of the original 8 founding organizations. And they are the Archstone Foundation, the John A. Hartford Foundation, the Retirement Research Foundation, and the SCAN Foundation. They're continuing to support work at the national level. I realize I hadn't really said much about the Gerontological Society of America, but for those of you who aren't familiar with GSA, we've got more than 5,000 members. We're a multidisciplinary organization that really advances interdisciplinary research. Those research findings are brought forward to help inform practice change as well as policy change. That's a big part of what we're about, changing practice and changing policy. Ultimately, we're trying to nurture this interdisciplinary environment in a manner that optimizes the health and aging of society at large. Now, reframing aging, when we set about, after we had been successful in identifying funding, we had to identify the right partner to help us put this project together. Fortunately, we identified early on the Frameworks Institute, and I suspect many of you have heard of the Frameworks Institute. They're a think tank. They're based in Washington, D.C. They're comprised of social scientists, psychologists, and sociologists, and linguists. And their whole mission is to take on major social change initiatives and help nonprofit organizations and non-governmental organizations to better craft their communications so that they can have better uptake of their messages and they can effect the social change that they're trying to bring forward. So the Frameworks Institute took on this task. They helped develop the research base behind the Reframing Aging initiative. They went forward and helped us do the testing of interventions that help to change how people talk about aging, and developed multiple reports and resources that I'll be sharing with you in a moment. I should probably say a word about framing, or maybe about the word frame, as in what is a frame? Well, I suspect all of you have used that phrase in your respective offices, where when something comes up and we're like, uh-oh, we got to go talk to the boss about this, or we've got to present something to the board, how are we going to frame that issue? How are we going to bring it forward in a way that we can clearly communicate what happened? We can also clearly communicate what the solutions are, what the implications are of the issue. And you ask yourselves, well, where do we want to place the emphasis? What do we want to make sure to include in the communication? What do we want to prioritize and emphasize? And what do we want to leave out? Well, that's what a frame is. That's what framing is. And that's what this initiative around reframing aging is about. It's taking a really hard look at how we want to talk about aging in a way that people will listen, it will make sense to them, and they will want to engage around the issue versus immediately sort of turning away from the message that's coming from advocacy organizations. And why reframe? Well, let me say up front that reframing is a process. The title of this presentation is about a generation's work because, frankly, we believe it will take a generation to have the sort of meaningful impact that we're going for. But why reframe? Well, because research shows that changes in how people communicate, the words people use, leads to how they talk about an issue. And once you have people talking about an issue differently, it can change to how they think about the issue. Ultimately, then, it'll lead to behavior changes and changes in practices and policies. So it's a cascade of effects, but it starts with, first, changing how we talk about the issue. That's step one. Now, one of the challenges that we experience along the way are what the researchers at the Frameworks Institute refer to as cultural models. What are cultural models? They're essentially the lens through which we all see the world. And they built up throughout our lives as a result of our education, of our values, of the communities we live in. All these factors come together to essentially create a set of cognitive shortcuts, that is, ways of thinking about the world, ways of taking in information and responding to information. And these cognitive models are what are such a challenge to navigate when, as an advocacy organization, you're trying to bring forward a new message, because that cognitive model gets in the way. Because sometimes it's easier for someone to quickly interpret what you've said through whatever lens they have in a manner that essentially makes the message moot. It just does not break through. So understanding that these cultural models exist and that we have to find communication vehicles to get through is an important part of this initiative. And as an advocacy organization, and perhaps some of you have seen this in some of the messages that you've put forward and some of the communications you've had with policymakers, that we think as an advocacy organization, we've come up with the best way to talk about the issue. We put that message out there, and it does not have the effect we planned. And in fact, sometimes it can have the exact opposite effect we planned because of these cognitive models that people have, and in particular, cognitive models about aging. Implicit bias around aging, the research suggests, starts very young. It is well entrenched in people as they age. So we've got to figure out how to break through so that the message we're sending is the same message that gets received by the public. And it's important to note, and our colleagues working on this project always remind us, that when you're bringing a new message forward, an advocacy message around the importance, for example, of a new aging program or aging service, that the individuals receiving this information, they're not sort of an empty vesicle, fishbowl, just waiting for us to dump the fish in there, right? No, not at all. This is not the case. They have those cognitive models that I already mentioned, that when we bring a new idea forward, we try to talk about the importance of an issue, that those cognitive models get in the way. And to give you a sense of what we're dealing with as it relates to those cognitive models, I wanted to share with you a video, short snippets of some of the on-the-street videos that were done as part of the research background for this project. And I'd ask you to watch these short video snippets, these man-on-the-street interviews, and see if there are any themes you pick up about how people view currently their conventional wisdom around aging.
When would you say a person is old?
Well, to me, old would be somebody who is over 80.
Probably when they retire, so around 65.
60.
60s?
50s.
Maybe around 50.
There's a young old, a middle old, and an old old.
It's a mental thing to me.
It's not age-driven, it's when they start acting old.
What's it like to get older in America?
Well, people are living longer.
I can imagine that people are living a lot longer now.
Unfortunately, as we get older, we start to see our bodies falling apart on us.
They can't do everything by themselves anymore. You know, walking with canes.
They start becoming a little more feeble.
More health problems like strokes, cancer.
More medication, more doctor visits.
Would you say there are advantages to being older?
You get to relax more. Yeah.
Retirement?
'Cause that's when work comes to an end.
Can you think of any advantages to getting older in America?
Not really.
Probably it would be hard for them to adapt to this newer world or new technology and things like that.
Technology-wise, I'm sure it's harder.
Doors seem to be closing a bit as far as opportunities.
I guess as you get older, they want someone who's going to be more vibrant, going to be around, maybe be able to do the work quicker, faster, better.
Seems like the older I get, the less places that they want me to work.
They're alone. Their spouses die.
There's, of course, a lot of folks who are just old and lonely.
What do you think needs to happen for us to do well overall as we get older?
Something needs to be done with Social Security because it's not going to last.
People aren't going to have enough to take care of themselves. From Social Security, I feel like people don't really get that much money.
The Social Security system. You have to get a lawyer in order to get the money that you're owed.
I think you need to keep active, you need to keep moving.
They need to stay active, both mentally and physically.
You got to keep yourself active.
More into fitness too, so they're more active.
Exercise, good diet.
Good eating habits and nutrition, of course.
Taking better care of their health, being proactive.
Just maintaining your health.
I know a lot of old people who are fabulously spry and wonderful.
Our society isn't betting on them as much.
You get disconnected from some of the innovations and the activities that young people are into.
When you don't see them, you don't really think about them, most people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
It's tough to be old.
Any surprises? What you had a little bit of an insight into is what we now refer to as the swamp of public opinion, right? These are those cognitive models that exist, and they're deeply entrenched. You heard it again and again and again. And some of the themes that I hear when I listen to those clips, one is one around fatalism. There's a certain sense that, well, it's too big an issue. We can't do anything about aging, so let's not even try to do anything. I heard an awful lot of cues towards individualism. Well, it's whatever the individual does to keep themselves healthy, et cetera. When in fact the research is clear that aging is contextual. It has to do with our environment, our family structure, our socioeconomic status, et cetera. The individual has an important role to play, but it's not just up to individual choices. Otherism. I don't know, did you notice they kept using the phrases like they do this or them, sort of referring to older adults as this group separate and apart from the rest of the country in some respects is what it sounded like. I mean, it's almost as if the individuals interviewed didn't realize that they will one day be them, right? I mean, we're all just younger versions of our older selves, let's face it, right? So this otherism that happens is a real issue, and it cues up also a bit of this us versus them mentality, that if we make an investment in older adults, then someone else is losing out. So these are all the challenges and the mental models and cognitive models we're trying to break through. Now, fortunately, there are a lot of resources that have been developed that can help us and help all of you in your efforts to reframe aging. So as a result of interviews such as this and countless other one-on-one interviews, focus groups were done, Online surveys were conducted. An enormous amount of research was built up that compares what the conventional wisdom, such as you saw with these interviews, what the American public believes about aging, and what the experts know to be true based upon research. And it really maps the gaps between the two. And it's a report called Gauging Aging, and it's available to all of you. I encourage you to check it out. Beyond that, we had the Frameworks Institute team develop a series of video modules that you can watch to actually get a lot of deeper insight into the finer aspects of reframing aging and learn how to integrate these tools into your daily practices, into your communications, your newsletters, your conversations with the individuals that you work with. In addition, there's a toolkit that includes resource materials and a couple of narratives that are used to enable us to talk in a consistent manner about aging. One narrative is called Embracing the Dynamic. It talks about how as we age, we do gain momentum, we gain wisdom, etc. And here in the United States, we're about ingenuity and solving problems. I think about landing someone on the moon as an example. And another narrative that's around confronting injustice, and that really gets right at the core of ageism. So these narratives that can help you and help inform how you talk about the issues. And then lastly, I want to point out a report developed that compares how the media covers aging versus what the reality is around aging. And the media typically takes one of two paths. They either talk about how aging is just about becoming frail, it's decline, disability, etc., or they talk about the 90-year-old who is still running marathons, right? Sort of this extraordinary athlete. And the truth about aging is really not at either of those polar ends, but very much in the middle. So I think you might enjoy seeing that report on how the media covers the topic. Now, it's also important to note that these are resources. There are no magic words that reframe aging. There's some narratives that can help inform how we do it, and I encourage you to use those. But this is about having the discipline and a consistent approach to how we talk about aging so that over time we begin to change the words we use, we begin to change how people talk about aging, and ultimately, again, their behavior around aging and policy and practice change. So there's no magic bullet here. It is a process, but it works. That's the important thing. It works. And let me, with that, cue up an example of another set of on-the-street interviews that were done. In this case, individuals were asked open-ended questions about aging, and you'll hear their responses. They were then read a 1 or 2 paragraph statement about aging that is framed using the resources that I've described, these narratives. And then they're asked open-ended questions again. So you'll get a sense as to how they respond. See if you can notice any differences.
What comes to mind when you think about getting older?
Trying not to get bummed out by other people that are old. I don't want to succumb to any mindset of old, because I see they talk about their ailments a lot. They talk about money problems. I love that because everybody contributes no matter how old they are. They need more opportunities because they can still have really good sharpened skills that they've always had. Because ideas can come to anybody, you know what I mean? You can be 80 years old and get a really good idea.
What comes to mind when you think about getting older?
It's a lot of work.
Okay.
I mean, joints start going, memory starts going. I don't know why they call it the golden years. You can't do the things you used to do. You now have the freedoms to go out and do some of the things that you've always wanted to do. We're going to experience new experiences that we've never done before.
Yeah.
So what comes to mind when you think of getting older?
Take care of your health. Make sure you see them, you go to them doctor's appointments, and you can't do as much when you get older. Getting older now it's kind of changed, like a bad thing now. The good thing about getting older, like you said, wisdom and learning. If we had some more community programs that young people interacting with older people, it's a beautiful thing. You make me feel like, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to get older.
Did you hear some differences, the before and after? And that's just after being exposed to one framed message about aging. All right, pretty neat stuff. pretty neat stuff. My personal favorite is the first respondent who sort of talks about, doesn't want to be the aging, but she pulls the thing down over her head. You know, it's like aging is something that, you know, attacks us or something. Something else. Now, the good news is we know it works, and in fact, reframing aging is taking hold across the country. Amazing efforts are happening in Colorado, in Massachusetts, the California, and the governors just created are developing a statewide plan around aging, Maine and New Hampshire. Do we have anyone from any of these states with us today? Yeah? So it's catching hold, and it's a real opportunity, I think, to make a difference over the long term. This is not a short-term endeavor. I believe it's a generational change. But I'd much rather be, 10 years from now looking back saying, I'm glad we started in 2019 instead of saying, I wish we had started in 2019. These case examples of what's happening in states across the country are quite significant. And other things are happening in other counties and other states as well. I know Minnesota, for example, is doing a lot of things and others. So the movement's underway. And so you're asking, well, all right, what do I do? Here are a few things we'd ask of you to think about. First of all, commit to making choices about what to emphasize and what to leave unsaid. And you can learn about that in a quick start guide that's been developed around reframing aging. You can access the resources that I noted that are online on the www.reframingaging.org website, the toolkit, the learning about the different narratives, and the swamp of public opinion. There's the online training videos as well. And you can request, if you are interested in having a facilitator come out and do a half-day, up to a half-day training program for your staff about what reframing is, about how to use these different resources and how you can make it work inside your organization. We'd be happy to have someone come out and do that for you. So you just have to let us know that you're interested. And here at the meeting in New Orleans, you can learn more about the Reframing Aging Initiative by coming to the Reframing Aging booth in the exhibit hall right after this session. And you can also attend a workshop that GSA staff member Lori Lindberg is doing around reframing aging for effective advocacy. And that is on Tuesday at 2:30. So if some of you don't have that on your schedule right now, you may want to consider adding that. So in closing, I would just invite each and every one of you to join the Reframing Aging momentum. Join the momentum, join the movement, and learn to use this new language around reframing aging and see the benefits of it in your work and in your communities over time. While it is indeed a generation's work, it will help all generations be a full part of an American society that is rapidly becoming an every generation nation. Thank you.
Wow. James, thank you so much for that insightful discussion on the important role that we and the words that we use play in ensuring that ageism has no place in our society. And as leaders in aging, we have a duty to take these lessons to heart and to put them into practice. And speaking of leaders, I'd like everyone to take a few seconds to look around this room. What do you see? Well, I'm up here, and even because of the lighting, which is a little difficult, I'll tell you what I see. What I see are a room full of incredible leaders in aging, leaders who truly care about the people that they serve, about people who are older, people with disabilities, and they're important caregivers in every community in this country. Leaders who are ready to embrace change, especially if it means change that will lead to the improvements in the lives of the people that we are committed to serve. Each of you makes a difference. You make a difference in the lives of older adults, people with disabilities, and their caregivers, and you are on the front lines, doing the hard work and sometimes the thankless work in your communities to make your communities better places, safer places for people to grow old. Places where people can live with disabilities and chronic and serious illness and lead productive lives and make choices for themselves. And places where caregivers are supported to do the heroic work that they do every day. You are here because of your commitment and your collective belief in our mission and your incredible capacity to deliver on it without compromise or cutting corners, and because of your commitment to quality service. Some of you, in fact, a total of 361 of the Area Agency on Aging and Title VI program staff have graduated from a program that we have had for more than a decade to support leadership enhancement. The n4a Leadership Institute has helped AAA and Title VI staff hone not only their leadership skills, but also to help them set and achieve goals in the name of serving older adults in their communities. n4a is so grateful to Tim Riley of WellSky, Maggie Bretler and Nancy Anderson of Ilior, North America, for their long-standing support of this vital program that many of the participants that have gone through it have called life-changing. So I would like to ask Maggie, Nancy, and Tim to please stand up, and I'd ask you to give them a huge round of applause. Truly, I want to thank you for investing in the leadership of the AAA and Title VI network. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize the 2019 Leadership Institute graduates, which was our largest class of Leadership Institute graduates ever. If you were part of the 2019 Leadership Institute, please rise. All right, now I'm going to give more people an opportunity to get exercise. If you are one of the 361 former and current graduates of the n4a Leadership Institute, please stand. We commend you for your leadership, for your dedication for improving AAA and Title VI agencies, but also the entire aging network, and most importantly, your commitment to improving the lives of the older adults that you serve. Thank you so much. And thank you for the great and important work you do to support older adults. Again, WellSky and Ilior, truly, you make a difference, not only here at n4a, but as you can tell, with so many of our members across the country. And as we know, leadership isn't a skill that's developed overnight. Leadership grows as we learn, see, and work in our communities. Leadership becomes evident over the span of a career, and now I'd like to recognize and honor two leaders in our network who have demonstrated leadership throughout their careers, through the innovative programs they have launched within their agencies, through their tireless advocacy on behalf of older adults, and through their efforts to develop systems and services that value and support people as they age. With that said, it is truly my pleasure to announce the 2019 recipients of 2019. It's the numbers. I'm just going to jump forward and, and change the year. I'm moving it up the generations, James. Our our 2019 recipients of n4a's Excellence in Leadership Award. This award recognizes AAAs and Title VI directors that have demonstrated exceptional leadership capabilities, both at the local, the state, and the national level, have worked hard to advance the mission of the Older Americans Act and prepare the communities that they live in for the rapidly aging population. Recipients are exceptional champions for our cause, working with compassion and dedication that encourage and inspires everyone in this room to do better and to reach higher. This year's winners exemplify the characteristics that mark a true leader: foresight, dedication, fortitude, compassion, courageousness. The winners of this year's award, in no small way, model all of these qualities and then some. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating our 2019 AAA Excellence in Leadership Award winner, 4 AAAs, Regina Sayers, the Executive Director of the Appalachian Agency of Senior Citizens. Regina, where are you? The great thing about this award is they don't know they're getting it. Regina is receiving this award for her passion and determination to better the lives of older adults in her community, and as her nomination form stated, because of her dedication and perseverance. As her nominator put it, Regina has no fear. She's not afraid to tackle anything. She steps up, takes control, and moves in a positive direction. After nearly 10 years with the Appalachian Agency for Senior Citizens, Regina has made an impact and continues to be an advocate for the older adults in her agency. And in saying that, she has made a difference in the lives of millions of older adults, not only in the work that she's done locally, in the work that she's done at the state level, and also in the assistance she's given on the national level as well. Regina, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I felt like I just now won the Oscar, so thank you very much. It has truly been a delight and my pleasure to work with many of you. I have learned from you, and you have given me the courage to be fearless. So thank you for your work, and thank you and thank my staff, the individuals that I work with, because none of us could be great leaders if we didn't have great followers. So I thank my staff, but I thank you, the other executive directors, your members and your board members and our board members, and I thank you for this award. It truly is an honor, and I really do almost feel like Sally Fields. They really do love me. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Regina. What an incredible leader, but we are not done yet. We have another award. I am so honored to be able to present this year's Title VI Excellence in Leadership Award to Lisa James from the Cherokee Nation. Lisa, come on up. Lisa's been with the Cherokee Nation for nearly 30 years and has served as the manager of family and elder services for nearly 20 of those years. Her leadership and determination have had a lasting impact on the Cherokee Nation and the elders it serves. She's made significant contributions to her tribe, to the Title VI programs as a whole, and also as a representative of the Title VI on the N4A Board of Directors. Lisa, thank you. Thank you very much. I had no idea. There you go.
Title VI leaders, they can keep a secret. I had no idea. I want to thank you. I thank the aging group. you're great people. You do great work. The Oklahoma Indian Council on Aging, I'd like to thank you for all all that you do for the elders in Oklahoma, and I'd like to thank my tribal leadership and my mentor and executive director, Marsha Lamb, who's here. I couldn't do anything without them. They've been behind us and behind me in our programs for many, many years to try to make sure that our elders are well taken care of. Thank you very much.
Could we get the rest of the Oklahoma Indian Council group up here? And Lance, would you like to join us, please?
As a way to honor someone, then the Indian tribes, and they present a blanket or they present a shawl to the person that they're honoring, and they wanted me to explain this to you. I still, again, I had no idea.
Wow. It's amazing when you look out on a room full of leaders, but to also have the honor to really recognize two such important leaders in our midst. Regina and Lisa, again, congratulations. Now I want to recognize the long-standing sponsor of our opening general session, Mom's Meals, and the president of Mom's Meals, Mom, Barb Anderson. Barb, please join me on the stage. For the 10th consecutive year, Mom's Meals has been the opening general session sponsor, and as an innovator in nutrition solutions, Mom's Meals has provided refrigerated, condition-appropriate, nutritious meals direct to homes nationwide for nearly 20 years. We encourage everyone to check out their booth at the exhibit hall. Barb, I'd like to ask you to say a few words. I know you don't like
I hate this. Okay, so I did learn some things from you tonight, so thanks. Because I am getting up there. For those of you that are new and haven't been here before, we give out in kind of a special way a certificate to you that you can pick 10 people that you have on a waiting list and get them a month's worth of free meals. And so every year we've tried to figure out how are we gonna announce this or do it or grab bag or whatever. But anyway, so I've got 4 gift certificates here, and I want you to look at your Big Easy card. And we tried to figure out, because you guys know how, you know what to look for. So we had to figure out something kind of different this year. On the back of your card, of your thing, if you have a little piece of a rainbow down here, you're a winner. And there should be 4 of you. Anybody? Yeah. Back on this corner by the bottom of the horn. Did you find him? Who's a winner? See, there'd be a rainbow thing right back here.
All right. If you don't find one in front of you, look at, here we go. We've got one more.
Well, and if there's not a fourth person, then I get it. So. Number 4? Oh, cool. Yay. Good deal. Thanks, guys. Enjoy.
Barb, thank you, and to Mom's Meals for your generosity. Giving those meals to clients on the waiting list is such a gracious gesture that means so much, not only to the agency, but also specifically to those clients that'll get the meals. As we close our opening general session, just a reminder, if you're a first-time attendee, see an n4a staff person at the door. They want to give you your first-time attendee ribbon. And remember, for our seasoned attendees, if you see someone with that ribbon, walk up to them and connect with them, please. With that, please go and have some fun in the trade show and enjoy the reception, which is right across the hall. Don't forget to buy a raffle ticket to help support n4a's capacity fund, which helps n4a members better seize opportunities. In saying that, we've got a little bit of excitement to
A big thank you to the Zulu dancers. Follow them to the trade show.